these bones live. You see they're dry. You see there's no marrow in the bone. You see they're scattered all over the valley. They ain't even full skeletons. I mean, the bones are scattered all over the valley. They're just bones. But answer me a question, Ezekiel. Can these bones live? Ezekiel answers the only way he knows how to answer. Lord, you know. Critical race theory was born out of critical legal theory. Am I teaching y'all something today? There emerged two common beliefs linking all critical race theories. First, white supremacy has subordinated black people and other people of color. That's just a fact. How in the world are you going to fight against that being taught in any school? White supremacy has subordinated black people and other people of color. That's a fact. Why don't you want that to be taught in school? You let your schools teach us that Columbus discovered America. That's a lie. You let your schools teach us that George Washington couldn't tell a lie. That's a lie. You let your schools teach us that some slave owners were beneficent and good slave owners. There were no good slave owners. Anybody who owned people was evil. That's a lie. You let your schools teach us that Abraham Lincoln was good for Negroes. No, Abraham Lincoln was trying to save the Union. And Abe Lincoln himself said if he could save the Union and keep black people in chains, he would do it. That's a lie. Come on, somebody. You let them teach us about a white Jesus. You let them teach us that Native Americans were the aggressors. Come on, somebody. That white folk had a manifest destiny and that the Pilgrims were good at Native Americans. That's a lie. All day, every day, you let them teach us lies. All throughout my history in school, I was taught lies. But you got a problem with critical race theory because it teaches the truth that white supremacy has subordinated black people and people of color. The right to bear arms. Let me just back up a little bit and let me take you on back to the late 1960s when Ronald Reagan was the governor of California. And they were oppressing black folk, and a group of men and women known as the Black Panther Party decided that they were going to defend the rights of black folk. And the Black Panthers decided that the Second Amendment wasn't just for white folk. So they strapped themselves with guns and showed up at the Capitol in California. And when they saw them Negroes with guns, come on, somebody. That's why I say if you ever really want to get gun laws changed, just strap all these Negroes up. They'll change them laws before the week is over. When the Black Panthers, watch this, I want you to read, the California legislator passed what was called the Mulford Act. It was a gun control act that decided who could get guns, who couldn't get guns, what could be in your background, what couldn't be in your background. It was the first time in history that the National Rifle Association, the NRA, supported restrictive gun legislation, all because black folk had the nerve to get strapped. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, go get strapped. Amen, somebody. Y'all gonna say Bishop told us to get strapped. I said it. Go get strapped. It just got real quiet up in here. But y'all already know I'm a triple P. Amen. Y'all know what a triple P is, right? A pistol packing preacher. Amen, somebody.
Bishop, see you later, sir. Take care. Yeah, somebody told me she was still working though.
Talk to me, Daddy. Talk to me, Daddy. Talk to me, Daddy.
What's happening, family?
Talk to me, Daddy. A positive attitude says
Going on the air shortly. Good morning to everybody. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube.
And it's up to you of how you unwrap it. So yesterday is history.
Let's get it.
Tomorrow's a mystery. Today is a gift.
Yes.
Don't let the pain of your past bleed into your present.
Let's make it do what it do, y'all.
Stop replaying the movie. Why did this happen to me?
Rep your city, rep your town.
Be done with it.
Let me know where you're chiming in from. Appreciate y'all. Let's make it happen. Like, share, subscribe. Let me get a window up before you get too hot.
You can do the impossible. Allow your challenges to be a stepping stone to propel you into new possibilities. So be discontent with your past accomplishment. You're only as great as your last success. So maintain your.
They don't have the AC on yet, so
remember this: within every seed,
I got to put a window up.
In every tree, there is a forest. Who and what you were born into. It's simply the environment to prepare you for your ultimate purpose.
All right.
It was a setup. Your purpose and potential is bigger than your past pain or problem. Dedicate to you. Listen to your heart, don't let your mind fool you. Remember the talk. Dedicate to you. Whatever you do is gonna surely come back to you. Successful people will do the things they hate to get the things they love. Much of life is about sacrifice.
Talking about this Supreme Court nonsense, y'all. Good morning, Whit.
What you've accomplished, but it's what you have overcome.
I see you, Elder Mayfield.
Which qualifies you for the
What's good, brother?
You have to be willing to face your challenges and overcome them. Most people drive 12,000 miles a year moving forward, but most accidents are caused when they move backwards. You gotta stay focused on what's ahead of you instead of what's behind you. It's your daily routine that determines your success or failure. Whatever you practice at is what you become great at. What's more important than being intelligent is having the right attitude. Respect costs you nothing, but it will cost you everything.
Everything.
So don't be
90.7 WTCC. Good morning. Welcome to the Black Love Experience. I'm your host, Bishop Talbert Swan II. TGIF. Thank God it's Friday. Well, yesterday was a historic and eventful day. The Supreme Court of the United States, or what Maya Angelou called the yet-to-be United States of America, struck down affirmative action, race-conscious considerations in college admissions. For some reason, they thought that 50 years of trying to remedy a problem was enough to correct 400 years of race-conscious disadvantages of Black people. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting how they think that half-hearted efforts at correcting something for a few decades is enough after a few centuries of setting people back with enslavement, rape, murder, brutalization, dehumanization, stereotyping, redlining, segregation, mass incarceration, and the list goes on and on and on. And we're going to talk about this Supreme Court, this conservative Supreme Court's anti-civil rights agenda. It's happening in front of us. Now, a few years ago, some of y'all in my audience thought I was crazy when I said stuff like, you know what, y'all gonna mess around and sleep on Trump putting in these conservative justices in courts all over America, changing the face of the Supreme Court. And before you know it, you're going to be back on the plantation. They're going to be rescinding the 13th Amendment that abolished slavery, saying it's unconstitutional. Y'all said, oh, come on, stop playing, cut it out. Well, since that time, they've gutted the Voting Rights Act of 1965. They've gutted affirmative action. What's next, y'all? What's it going to take for y'all to believe that they're really trying to roll back the clock? That every civil rights gain. And the crazy thing is these conservative, non-melanated hypocrites will quote Dr. King on King Day and yet fight to reverse everything he lived and died for. Listen, don't go nowhere. We'll be right back. We're going to talk about it. Tell a friend, tell somebody. The bishop is on the air right now. Rep your city, rep your town. Let me know where you are chiming in from, what part of the country, what part of the world. The field is in the house. Good morning to everybody who is in the field. Somebody said we've been on the plantation. They're trying to put you back there physically. They really are. Houston is in the house. Rep your city, rep your town. Let me know where you're chiming in from. A couple Houstons are in the house. San Francisco is in the house. The 413, the field is in the house. Chicago is in the house. Man, I be having a bunch of Houstons, man. Houston be representing. The rest of y'all ain't keeping it real. Y'all ain't keeping it real. You ain't representing. Rep your city, rep your town. Like, share, subscribe. Tell somebody Bishop is on the air. I see you, Charlotte, North Carolina. I see you. Let me see who is chiming in on the gram. Rep your city, rep your town. I need to know where my people in the struggle at, where y'all coming in from, and let's get this conversation popping. Those of you in the Twitter space, rep your city, rep your town. I see Atlanta Metro. I see you on the gram, Atlanta ATL. I see you, Toronto. I see you, Detroit, Michigan. I see y'all. Come on, rep. We'll be right back. Don't go nowhere. Don't y'all dare go nowhere. We got important things to talk about. Gonna talk about some local stuff too, and then get into the Supreme Court stuff. Stay with us.
The being in the road will be the end of the road if you refuse to change. Reach a little higher, reach a little higher, dig a little deeper, dig a little deeper, go a little further, go a little further. Come on, reach a little higher, come on, yeah. Dig a little deeper, dig a little deeper, go a little further, go a little further. Come on, don't stop. The essence of life is growth. But the essence of growth is change. The being in the road will be the end.
Yeah.
If you refuse to change.
Now y'all calling in and y'all know I ain't on the air right now.
Where you are, whatever you don't hate,
TCC.
Tolerate. You must learn from the past, plan for the future, and live for today. For it is your daily routine that determines your success or failure in life. It's the choices that you have made.
All right, somebody playing on my phone.
The rest of your life. So break the cycle that doing enough is simply good enough. You only get out.
Call in, y'all, when I get back on the air.
So push yourself beyond your limitations. Come on. Reach a little higher. Reach a little higher. Dig a little deeper. Dig a little deeper. Go a little further. Don't stop. Don't stop. Come on. Reach a little higher. Reach a little higher. Dig a little deeper.
Dig a little deeper.
Go a little further.
Go a little further.
Don't stop. Don't stop. Don't stop. So you gotta break the routine of trying to beat the system. Manipulators will always try to buy.
Come on, rep your city.
There are no
rep your town.
There are no elevators to
rep your region.
Take it one step at a time. You gotta break the routine.
Where y'all in? St. Petersburg, I see you.
And where you going? You see, when you're about to positive,
Come on with it.
But don't let your haters push you down. Let your haters push you forward to the next level. So when people show you who they really are, don't
Black people, I love y'all, but y'all be tripping.
Zebra does not change his stripes, so you gotta keep pushing yourself to the next level. Yeah, there you go. Come on.
See somebody playing with my phone.
Come on.
Must be a troll.
Yeah.
TCC. You ain't got nothing better to do than play on the phone.
Come on. You gotta understand that greatness is the nature that you were born out of. You'll never discover your greatness
Trolls.
without hard work and dedication.
Grown folk.
Greatness says more about who you are and what you expect for yourself. And greatness will always attract greatness. Show me your friends, and I'll show you the future. You get to step
And they keep
away.
calling back to back to back.
You just a step away.
Childish.
Step away. Don't ever give up. Come on. You just a step away. You're almost there. Come on. You got to push yourself beyond your limitations.
All right, let's get it crunk, y'all. Going up after this.
I look in the mirror and I like what I see. A strong, beautiful black woman staring back at me.
Philly.
One who's seen a lot of pain and had her share of sorrow, but who never gave up hope for a brighter tomorrow. I've been lied to, cheated on,
Stolen from and hit.
but it just made me stronger, and I refuse to quit. That's right. And though I've been tempted, I refuse to stoop to their level. Don't go down.
I was above that nonsense and made a liar of the devil.
The devil who said I wasn't good enough, cute enough,
Or worthy of love.
I kicked his butt
With divine power from above.
Power that says I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me and brought me out of darkness so that I could see that I'm smart, I'm beautiful, I'm a child of the King. Abundant love for me, he came to bring. Oh yes, when I look in the mirror, I love what I see. That strong, beautiful black woman, that woman is me.
90.7 WTCC. Good morning. Good morning to every one of you all. Those of you in the Pioneer Valley. Those of you that are chiming in from various parts of the nation and the world. Good morning to each and every one of you. Thank you for tuning in. I see you, St. Petersburg, Florida, in the building. ATL, I see you in the building. Philly, Philadelphia is represented. I see Buffalo, New York is up in the building. Dallas, Texas is in here. Somebody else is representing the whole entire state of Florida, all by themselves. The whole state of Florida is in the building. Good morning, peace and blessings to you. I see y'all. I see you YouTubers up in here. Got Charlotte back in the building. Louisiana, they repping the whole state of Louisiana. I see you, Preacher Man IG. The whole state of Louisiana. That's all you. That's all you. You got that. Good morning to you. Good morning to you. St. Louis. St. Louis. Haywood from St. Louis is up in the building. Philly's in the building. South Africa, they representing a whole country. A whole country. You feel me? In the building. Yes, sir. New York City in the building. Rep your city, rep your town. Let me know where you are chiming in from. Good morning to each and every one of you. Let me take care of some local housekeeping, and we'll get into this Supreme Court decision that came down the pike yesterday. 413-736-2781. Yeah, you know, elections have consequences. And you know, the turning of the tide of the Supreme Court to an ultra-conservative Supreme Court that is now rolling back the clock on civil rights is a result of an election. It's a result of an election. It's a result of Donald Trump being able to put 3 conservatives on the Supreme Court. That's just a fact. To give them a 6-3 majority, which means they can do whatever they want. Like T.I., you can do whatever you like. They can do whatever they want to do. They can do whatever they want to do. You knew the road they were going down because even before Trump got in office in 2013, in a 5-4 decision, they gutted the Voting Rights Act. We're going to come to that. We're going to come right back to that. But locally, there was here in the field, the Republican did an expose on the candidates that are running for city council. And, you know, they called them all in, met with the editorial board, got what their agendas were, yada, 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 and then did an expose giving you a little something about the candidates. One of the candidates, who is black, took shots at the NAACP, again, the local branch, and really was taking shots at me personally, basically saying the NAACP has dropped the ball tremendously when they asked him what organizations he would work with if he were elected. NAACP has dropped the ball tremendously. And he named some organizations that he would work with. The interesting thing is, you know, you say what you want about the NAACP, and I've got my own critiques. I've been one who has been bold enough as a president to criticize the national organization publicly. Yeah, criticize decisions that it has made, and even go against decisions it has made both nationally and in the state. So I don't believe it's above criticism. It should be critiqued and criticized by its constituents. But let's be clear. In 105 years here in Springfield, to insinuate that the NAACP is the organization that has dropped the ball tremendously and then name some upstart organizations that, no doubt, I believe are probably doing good work, but have nowhere near the track record of the branch, not even in the 10 years that I've been president, 12 years now. But when you want to take personal shots at somebody, I guess you just say stupid stuff. You say ignorant stuff. We have the most diverse city council and school committee in the history of the city, in part because of the NAACP, who was one of only 3 organizational plaintiffs that sued the city to bring ward representation here. You have the 1-for-1 hiring ratio on the police department because of a consent decree that came into existence because of the NAACP. You had the investigation that was done by the DOJ during the Trump administration on the police department, which resulted in the current consent decree because the NAACP communicated with and called on the Justice Department to come and do the investigation. NAACP was the main organization at the forefront of calling for a change from a one-person police commissioner to a police commission. It was the NAACP who ensured that the videotape made it to the public to show a police officer brutalizing a child in Commerce High School that resulted in that police officer being prosecuted and convicted. It was the NAACP that was instrumental in the state, on the state level, in terms of helping to promulgate the legislation and lobbying to get it passed for police reform in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and the various commissions that have resulted because of it. The commission that decertified Greg Bigda, so he could no longer be a police officer, is in existence in part because of the efforts of the NAACP. As a matter of fact, several hundred police officers across the state have been decertified and can no longer work in police departments in Springfield. That's the work of the NAACP. Commission on the Status of African Americans, that's the work of the NAACP. Pushing the governor to create the Hate Crimes Task Force, that's the work of the NAACP. Because not only do we have the local branch, we have the NEAC, the New England Area Conference, of which I am on the executive committee of, that also works. It's a network across the Commonwealth that has done work where you can see demonstrable, tangible changes that have occurred both in this city and across the Commonwealth because of their work. So when somebody steps up who has no tangible work, who can't point to anything that you can quantify as a result of his body of work, nothing that you can quantify, no legislation that has been passed, no policies that have been changed, no changing to the voting structure, nothing. But he wants to criticize the organization that can show you demonstrable, quantifiable changes that have taken place to the betterment of Black people in this city and across the Commonwealth. And, you know, one day I'll do a show and I will give you further detail of these things. I'll bring my comrades on. I'll bring my Tanisha Sullivan, my fellow president from Boston, and others who will show how we have worked together across this Commonwealth to make changes, while certain people have done nothing other than run their mouth. I'm the onlyest Black man that says this and says, yes, says, but does nothing. You have to understand that running off at the mouth, and there's a place for that. There's a place for agitation because it brings attention to the issue. But after you bring attention to the issue, what's the work behind it? What's the strategy behind it to change it? Because if the only thing you ever do is call other Black people enemies of the community and collaborators with white supremacy, and you want to be perceived as being the biggest and the boldest because you can be the loudest when it comes to critiquing everybody. Well, what work have you done? What's the work? Yeah. 413-736-2781. I know I see you all in the Twitter space. We're gonna get to you, but let me just kind of set the groundwork for this conversation on this Supreme Court. Now, once again,
I can go back further than 2013, but 2013 is a signature year because that is the year that the Supreme Court nullified Section 4 of the Voting Rights Act, which then left Section 5, the Enforcement Act, unenforceable. So we knew then the track it was on, and we knew the danger then if this court went to a super conservative majority, which it now has in a 6-3 majority. So affirmative action has become the latest victim of the Supreme Court's agenda to roll back major civil rights gains. Good morning, caller. Yes.
I would like to do what they talk about. How come we don't have a black community? We don't have a Winchester. Where's our black community at?
What?
Where is the black community at? Where's the squares not even owned by the black people anymore?
Okay, I don't know what you're talking about, but it don't have nothing to do with what I'm talking about right now. Y'all stay on topic. Just so y'all know, we're gonna have to stay on topic this morning. I'm talking about affirmative action, the Supreme Court, civil rights. Yeah, you can't just change the subject. Winchester, first it ain't Winchester Square, it's Mason Square. Now it was renamed years ago. So stay on topic, stay on point, y'all. I don't mind you calling in, but let's stay on point. We're not just going randomly. This ain't freestyling. Okay. Good morning.
Hello.
All right. He still want to freestyle. We're not doing that today. So yesterday, in the Students for Fair Admissions versus Harvard, the Supreme Court struck down affirmative action in higher education. The opinion was written by Chief Justice John Roberts, and the decision holds that both universities' race-conscious admissions policies violate the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause. Okay? Now this didn't just happen in a vacuum. This happened after literally decades of gradual efforts by conservatives to gut the constitutionality of race-conscious admissions policies. They framed affirmative action as a form of reverse discrimination. See, they think discrimination should only work in one direction. White folks discriminating against black people. So they frame that anything that gives an advantage to black people to right the wrongs of white people discriminating against black people is reverse discrimination. So what they've been talking about for decades is this notion of a colorblind ideology. All right, American jurisprudence continues to talk about a colorblind ideology. And here's the deal. America has never been colorblind, but it has turned a blind eye to racism against black people. That's for sure. Good morning, caller. Caller. Are you calling in to talk about the subject I'm talking about?
No, not really.
Okay, then, bruh, don't call back. You can't just call in the show and change the subject. All right? So calling back 10 times ain't gonna help you none. Y'all Negroes is just hard-headed. 413-736-2781. So the decision and framing affirmative action as discrimination against anybody who's not black. That was inevitable. We knew it was coming. We knew it was coming because they've been trying to do it since affirmative action came into existence in the late 60s. In the late 60s. And here's the thing, for all of you all who still believe we got some kind of a black-brown coalition popping off, understand, study the ruling and study the lawsuit that brought it about. It was a lawsuit filed by a white conservative group on behalf of Asian students. Okay? It was Asian students claiming they were discriminated against. They were claiming that Harvard was accepting that black students were taking their spots. You know, the same thing white folks used to say. They couldn't get into a certain school because a black person got their spot. Or they couldn't get a certain job because a black person got their spot. Because, you know, white folks own everything. It's theirs. And the Asian American community took on that same mentality, that we deserve it, not these black people who got in instead of us. So white folks said, you know, hey, yeah, we want to get this affirmative action abolished. We'll take on the case. And so Asian Americans worked with white supremacists to help strike down affirmative action. So for all of you all who think we got all these allies, these so-called brown allies, and we always out here fighting, you know, for blacks, and we always do that, blacks and Latinos, blacks and Asians, blacks and Native Americans, when rarely do you see any of those communities saying their community and black people. So Asian Americans worked with white supremacists to strike down affirmative action, just so you get a clear picture of what happened. Good morning, caller. 413-736-2781. That's a grown man playing on the phone. Oh, God help me, Jesus. Vote Constance. You got the microphone. Let's see if I can get some people who have something to say about the subject. Vote Constance, unmute. You're first up.
Oh man, thank you so much, Bishop. Grand Rising.
Good morning.
Yes, I was agreeing with you, Bishop, as far as the anti-blackness, but more importantly, the reverse racism philosophy. I was like, you know, I think this is a dangerous notion, seeing the affirmative action get killed, because obviously we know that we are definitely at a disadvantage. But more importantly, that's been highlighted, I saw in the news media, some folks has already talked about it, but white women particularly were the greatest advantagers of affirmative action. We really did not benefit from that by the data. It shows that.
Thank you.
But more importantly, it's also the reality of black people not safe anywhere. Like, it's becoming more and more dangerous for us, not just in America, but globally. And so I'm like you, we have to really put our antennas up and focus and organize ourselves, because we are at war in all states of our existence.
Absolutely. Appreciate you, sis. Yeah, you know, now what she said was spot on. The data will reveal white women overwhelmingly were beneficiaries of affirmative action. Just like, but see, here's the thing, when they frame it as a black thing, even when their own women are the beneficiaries, they'll move against it. Because if you can get it to be perceived as something that benefits black people, even if the data proves it doesn't, oh, they're going to move against it. They're going to move against it. The whole welfare reform was because, you know, Ronald Reagan, you know, tried to paint a picture of the black woman welfare queen. And the whole white community bought into this notion that it's black women and their irresponsible selves that are benefiting from welfare, even though the vast majority of people on welfare were white women. But you had white politicians moving against welfare because they perceived it as being a black thing. You know, that's the deal. And that's how they perceived affirmative action. And that's why they've been moving against it ever since its inception. Let me get Brother Revels in here. 413-736-2781. You got the mic. Brother Revels in the Twitter space.
Hey, what's going on, Bishop? How you doing? I just want to say, man, even though, white women benefited from that, they know that it was something that was going to help black folks. So it's the white supremacy behind it. It's not that affirmative action was put in place to help them. It's just that that's how things go. I also want to say, I want to welcome everybody to Mississippi, because now y'all are in Mississippi. And so when a lot of y'all folks look at black folks in Mississippi and see why we don't have any full mobility, it's because now this country is pulling the veil off of all of the lies that they used to tell about it being a post-racial America and things are racist. And now you're beginning to see what it's like living in a state like Mississippi. Because see, the white supremacists down here, they wear their racism on their chest and they don't hide behind it. Yeah. And I just want to know what is the lane, or what is the lane that Asian Americans think that they're getting to by doing this, and positioning themselves to where they think that it's going to somehow benefit them in the long run. And I agree with you as far as the people of color term. We have to get rid of that, because as we can see, every time we look around, these so-called people of color are working against us. I mean, what's the Indian guy now that they got running on the Republican side?
Yeah, Ramswamy or whoever he is.
He's from Ohio. Yeah. All he does is talk about black folks. Yep. His whole shtick is just talking about black folks and denigrating and talking down on black people. And so this is where we are. I just think that because of the media and everything that we have on demand, that this country can no longer hide what it has always been, and so it has to be what it always is. And Clarence Thomas, there's a special place in hell for him. And we have to really take a look at those in our community who think like Clarence Thomas, because as we can see, they are very, very dangerous to our community, and they'll do everything in their power to put us in a position in which we're trying to fight up forward. They'll destroy our community for their own personal belief. And I'll land my plane there.
All right. Absolutely. Many of these so-called communities of color are rife with anti-blackness, including the Asian American community. So I was not surprised that this was a lawsuit brought on behalf of Asian students to strike down something that is perceived to benefit black people. And you're absolutely right about Clarence Thomas. Special place in Hades and a hot place. Matter of fact, if I have time, I'll give you the rundown. The irony of him voting with this is he's the poster child for affirmative action. Every step of his career leading to the Supreme Court, he was an affirmative action candidate. Matter of fact, even his position on the Supreme Court, they were looking to replace Thurgood Marshall, who was the first African-American on the Supreme Court. He was a black man. So George H.W. Bush was looking to replace him with a black man, a conservative black man that they could control. So Clarence Thomas, even his pick on the Supreme Court was an affirmative action selection. So for somebody whose whole career, from his entrance to college to the Supreme Court, was based on affirmative action, I mean, Miriam in the Twitter space, you got the microphone. 413-736-2781.
Good morning to you.
Good morning,
Bishop Swan. It's an honor to be in your space and
honor to have you.
This knowledge.
Great to have you.
Yes, sir. I have a kind of unique and different perspective on affirmative action. I agree with what you just said about Clarence Thomas and the gentleman that was before me. He definitely was a token pick. He definitely was what, um, also a puppet pick.
Mm-hmm.
So you have that. But when you look at affirmative action, it was first co-opted at the end in the like through 78 through like 84. That's when they started the co-op affirmative action, which was
Mm-hmm.
made for us to give us a little more equal footing and just fair, treatment and trying to get employment and education and things of this nature in this country. But then when they co-opted,
They
they
added
changed, they
everybody
started
else.
changing the language. Sir?
They started adding everybody else to it.
Yes, they did. They started adding everyone else. They started changing the language. That's when they put in the word minority, and then later people of color, but minority. And we know who the biggest minority is. It's the Caucasian woman who has benefited from affirmative action more so than her white counterpart. And then when you use minority, they use people of color. So you have your Asian, Latinos, Ukrainians, and everybody else can get aboard and get different things allocated to them for a program that was meant to give us sure footing that we fought and had to protest, blood, sweat, and tears, and fought for. Even some of our ancestors and people died for.
Yeah.
And then, as you were saying, the audacity of these people to vote it down and to sneer their nose at it when it is one of the main reasons, along with our Civil Rights Act and voting for immigration in the first place, which even allowed you to even be in this country, because no one wasn't welcome like that. And then, of course, you had the nurse with the Philippines, the Great Nursing Act, but that's because of the shortage, and that's the first. And then they changed the provision to allow others.
All right, let me get this back up.
Push the language, adapted into that, and made immigration available to the rest of the public. Hi, Sister Dana, and or to the world. And so when you have all these people coming in, particularly immigrants, and they thumb their nose up and come here with these misconceptions that we are lazy, and we're uneducated when we're the most hardworking, most educated
Talk about it.
Black people in the world. Actually, we're the gold standard, and we're the ones that others look up to, be it in the diaspora, the African diaspora, or the Caribbean diaspora, the Dominican Republic, Mexico, Panama, wherever. They look up to us because why? We are the only people with the rebel spirit. We fight for human rights. We fight for true civil rights and justice. We are the moral compass and the true identity of America. We are America. We are the culture, because the ruling class, who are the true xenophobes, will not consider you. We had to fight for humane rights, and not only for ourselves but others in the world. And they forget that, and they forget what we donated and what we have also put forth, all the way from Ethiopia, the Congo, Nigeria, Ghana, different places like the Philippines, different places in the DR, Brazil. I mean, we are the true humanitarians. And then to bring it back, as I say, I have a unique perspective about affirmative action. Them abolishing it actually is going to pull back the curtain, and let them understand the playing field that they are truly going to have. They're no longer going to be able to have all these favors, to have these businesses and stuff like that they say that they work hard for, but no, you're granted things
Yeah.
that we're not even given as citizens. So it's going to really level the playing field, and they're going to understand what it.
Okay, I think I lost my sister, but she was making so much sense. Oh my goodness. I'm going to go back and hit some of the points that she was talking about. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning. I think the Supreme Court made exactly the right decision yesterday.
Of course you do.
Well, yeah. I mean, it was the right decision. Anytime you discriminate against one group, you're discriminating against some.
So let's stop right there and let's change that context, because that's a false premise. So to say that affirmative action is discriminating against a group, that's a misnomer. That's false narrative. Okay? Affirmative action was put into place to remediate the discrimination, hundreds of years of discrimination against black people. So how do you then no, let me finish. How long were they discriminated against? Okay? So if you enslave, rape, brutalize generations of a people, and then you say, you know what, because of the systemic racism and discrimination against these people, we are going to show preferential treatment to try to level the playing field. That is not how is that discrimination against white people? So white folks brutalized us for 250 years, or longer than that, because by the time affirmative action came into existence, we're at 350 years. And then you say, you know what, we're going to try to reverse the negative and deleterious effects of what we've done to you. And then you cry and say, that's discrimination against me if I try to right the wrongs that I've done to you? Come on, man, that don't even make sense. That don't make sense. That doesn't make sense. Can you admit that makes no sense?
Is it my turn yet?
Can you admit that makes no sense?
Well, first of all, I didn't say it was discrimination against
you just said it's discrimination. You said affirmative action was discrimination. We know what you meant.
The lawsuit was against Asian people. It was discriminating Asian people.
We know what you meant. So are you not going to concede? Are you not going to concede that affirmative action was a remedial program to try to right the wrongs that had been done to black people? You can.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that statement.
So why would you frame it? Why would you frame it as discriminatory then?
No. What I was saying was the lawsuit was discriminatory. You know, it was trying to right the wrongs of Asians being discriminated against. So I'm not disagreeing with your statement.
But it was never proven. It was never proven that they were discriminated against.
Discriminated against.
No, they weren't. So you're going to say because a black person was admitted to Harvard, that was discrimination against an Asian person?
If the black person wasn't as qualified.
They were qualified. See, that's where y'all get off on this crazy notion that affirmative action allows unqualified black people to get advantages over more qualified other people, particularly white folks. That's a lie. That's a lie. Affirmative action was never put into place to give advantages to people who weren't qualified to be there in the first place. These were qualified candidates for admission. And it's a shame that affirmative action had to be put in place in the first place. But you know why it was put in place? Because qualified black people were being discriminated against and not admitted. And for a white man to whine and cry about discrimination and preferential treatment when white supremacy in this nation has given y'all preferential treatment for 400 years, you got the hell of a nerve. 413-736-2781. Jay Scott, You in the building. You got the mic, J. Scott.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I just want to take a moment to say this decision yesterday really made me realize the real lack of empathy in this country. And it was a little bit surprising to me because I thought that there would be more than there actually is. But when you really look at it, I think we have to stop saying that it was trying to correct wrongs of the past, because that's part of it. But these wrongs still go on today.
Yeah.
Like we had slavery, we had Jim Crow, then we have the war on drugs. The war on drugs is still going on today.
So
it's
is
a purely
slavery.
Discriminatory policy intended to target Black people, as well as Hispanic people. The education system is specifically set up to reinforce the cycle. It's funded off property taxes. Property taxes, funding the education system is discriminatory because we know the history of redlining. We know the history of discrimination against Black people. So obviously the property values are going to be lower in Black communities. So the whole conversation about it being in the past, no. It's trying to correct something that's still going on today. And it's not the only thing that needs to be corrected, because there are other, there are plenty of structural things that need to be addressed. But at the end of the day, like, I think, I really hope that people learn that, empathy is the way to get through on this conversation. So as we're addressing, like white folks about this and other people about this, I just think we need to make sure to remind them the same way you're doing, that it's not discriminatory. It's here to correct problems of the past and problems that still exist today, because the problems have not been solved. And this intentional ignorance about systemic racism just goes to further highlight why critical race theory is 100% needed. And I'm an immigrant. I came to this country with advantages that Black Americans do not have.
Thank you.
And I can happily recognize that. And
thank you.
For people who live in this country to purposely turn the blind eye to that, it's really hurtful. I expected better. I know maybe that's me being naive, but I really expected better from America.
Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate your perspective. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hey, really? Am I on the air?
Do you want to? Are you talking about the subject, or are you calling here to clown?
No, I'm not calling to clown. Actually, what I'd like to say is I'm a white man, and I love this discussion. Even the heated, you got a hell of a nerve discussion. This is a great discussion. I got nothing to add.
Okay, what's your point? What's the point you want to make?
Well, my point is I think that the whole discussion, this tends to gear to Black folks, and I listen to this station kind of frequently because I find it very interesting, and this discussion is terrific, and that's all I got to say. That's my point.
Okay, thank you. So you had no point. I got you. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Good morning, caller.
Yes, how you doing?
Turn your radio down.
Oh, okay. Well, it's a blessing to hear you again. I'm sitting here listening to everybody. I want to go back to the white guy that was talking. He don't know nothing about discrimination, number one. Okay? And the only thing they did is they're trying to bring everything back to where it used to be. Now they're gonna, you think they did bad when they did that. Now they're gonna try to mess with our loans, which they've been doing for everything. We're not gonna get the businesses we're getting before. They're gonna, everything they can do right now is they're gonna back off all the things that the law had provided for us. Now they're trying to make us start over again. I don't know what we're going to do, but I'm going to tell you right now, Black people need to watch out, because all these laws are against Black people. Thank you.
All right. Straight no chaser. You got the microphone. Straight no chaser. You last up. All right. You're not the last up. Good morning, caller. You're the last caller of the day.
Well, good morning, Bishop.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning. You have a wonderful radio show, as always. And I love that you're bringing the truth out. Now, I would like to know, what are we going to do to find a solution? Now that we know that the real true colors of white supremacy is coming out, how can we come together now with a solution? That's my question. And can we start to organize and boycott certain businesses or certain politicians. That's all I have to say.
All right. Appreciate that. Well, you know, and we're going to talk more on this on Monday. Tune in on Monday at 9 a.m. This is all a result of elections. And I get it. I get the duopoly, the dichotomous Republican versus Democrat system doesn't work well for us. And so many of us are inclined not to vote at all because we don't feel like either party works in the best interest of Black people. And I agree with that argument. But the reality is, this is the result of an election where a president was able to tip the scales on the Supreme Court and give them a super majority of 6-3 that could reverse affirmative action and could reverse and turn back other civil rights gains in the future. I gotta go. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm out of time. Don Felton is up next with mid-morning jazz and great Black music. I'll be back with you on the spoken word. We'll continue this conversation on Monday at 9 a.m. Monday at 9 a.m. We'll continue this conversation. If you're looking for a place to worship, check us out at Spring of Hope Church, 35 Alden Street, Springfield, Massachusetts. Until the next time I talk to you, you talk to me. Always remember, God loves you, and so do I. I'm out. Peace.